Good to see you again, sir.
I'm in the crypt, actually. Thank
nice. Well, bienvenue. And I think you know Mr. Chow, of course.
Yes, good to see you, sir.
We have our Mr. Tony Tsang, who is the new superintendent for 304.
Oh, congratulations, Tony.
And we have straight from Hong Kong, Dr. Alfred So, who is the new brigade commissioner.
Pleasure, sir.
And our two speakers, Dr. Kwong and Rachael Dell. Dr. Kwong is hailing from Hong Kong, and Miss Dell is hailing from Quebec, not too far from you.
Wow, so it's later for both of you than me.
Yes.
Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Commissioner So from Hong Kong. Sir.
Yes, I'm really glad to join you. Yesterday, I read my collection as a book about the Battle of Hong Kong in Chinese is in great detail, so that it's more meaningful for me to join the meeting today.
That's good to hear. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, it's 6:30 right now. I see, oh, Mr. Kern's there, perfect, okay.
Hello, Steve Kern here.
Commissioner Kern, good to see you. Good evening, sir.
Oh, let me look at this. Oh, here we go. There it is.
There you are. Good to see you, sir.
Lighting, but I was rushing down the highway to get in. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're safe and sound right now. Yeah. Welcome, sir.
Commissioner Kern, good evening, sir.
Hello, good to see you.
How are you doing? Yeah, we commented yesterday that the Commissioner Valentine traded his virtual palm trees for real ones.
Yes, he did. I think that photo he used in the past is from actual locations he's been, and he's actually there this time.
Welcome, everyone. It's great to see everyone here this evening. We were just chatting that we realize it's been about a year since we've actually done this service, so forgive us if we seem rusty, but we've done our best to ensure we have all the wrinkles smoothed out for this evening. So we have 60 people right now. That's amazing. And I don't want anyone waiting, because you know what happens when you don't let them in. They do other things, right? Especially now that we're slowly coming out of this global challenge, right? So we also have a live YouTube link right now that I will share in the chat. So if you have friends that you want to watch this, they are more than welcome to join us via YouTube. And admit all. Okay, we're admitting everyone in. Yes, sir, you are live on YouTube. Okay, we have 3 pages of people that are just joining us. Somebody has their hand raised.
Excuse me? Are we live on YouTube?
Yes, we are. Well, good evening, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. I'm Richard N. Liu, Honorary Brigade Division President, and welcome to our pre-event reception. We are grateful to see folks tuning in from across Canada and Hong Kong. So allow me to first introduce our host Burnaby team around the table. So let's begin with Mr. Chow and Mr. Tsang.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Welcome. I'm really looking forward to this very exciting event, and also to commemorate the Battle of Hong Kong with you all this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Hello, everybody. I'm Tony Tsang, Divisional Superintendent of Adult Division 304, based in Burnaby, BC.
And we'll introduce Mr. Lowe.
Hello, welcome everyone. I see some familiar faces from last year. Thank you for coming out again tonight to celebrate this important occasion. I am the Deputy Divisional Superintendent for Division 389.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Ms. Huang and Ms. Ho are a dynamic duo.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone have a great night. Thank you. And my name is Eva, the Division Admin Officer.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special occasion tonight. I'm the Training Officer of Division 389C.
Thank you very much. We have next, let's see, who do we have here? Mr. DeLeon.
Hi, a very good evening to you all. I do special training here at St. John Ambulance, and I also manage all the technical things that go behind the scenes tonight. I'm very happy to be with you all tonight. So please enjoy.
Thank you, Mr. DeLeon. And I think I saw Mr. Vincent Liu. Is that correct? We have a lot of people here, so I'm just...
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Liu. I'm a CSC of Division 389. Welcome to the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. And if I forget anybody from our NCOs, just please speak up, because we've got several pages here of people, and I don't think I have everyone in front of me right now. First off, for NCOs, I see Sergeant Yip.
Evening, everyone. My name is Sergeant Alana Yip. I'm one of the orientation program leads at 389C. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really excited to see our presentation tonight.
Thank you, Sergeant Yip. I remember with first NCO was Corporal Yu. If you want to introduce yourself.
So hello everyone, my name is Chris, Corporal Yu, and I've been with St. John for 10 years, and currently I'm also on the training team and I'm helping out with the junior program.
Thank you, Corporal Yu. I believe I saw Corporal Huang.
Yeah, hello, I'm Corporal Ethan Huang, and I'm part of 389C Division, and I'm looking forward to the speaker tonight.
Thank you, Corporal Huang. Corporal Lau.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Corporal Angel Lau, and I've been with the division for 12 years, and I do younger cadets, and I'm excited to learn lots tonight.
Thank you, Corporal Lau. I see Superintendent Chow from 1304C. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm from Division 1304, and I'm the DS representing from them. Thank you for inviting.
Oh, thank you. Which part of the Metro Vancouver area are you from?
1304 is New West.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. And I will move along to our brigade team. Deputy Provincial Commissioner Steve Kern, sir.
And now you can hear me now that I've unmuted it. Hello there, I'm Steve Kern. I'm the Deputy Provincial Commissioner. I live in Vancouver, and our provincial headquarters is just up the street, 611 Canby. And it's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to thank everybody for coordinating this very valuable meeting that we're going to be having tonight. And I also, as a military veteran with 40 plus years, am looking forward to hearing tonight's presentation.
Thank you, sir. We have our provincial chaplain, Mr. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Nahum Ip. I am the provincial chaplain, and looking forward to the night. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have guests from all around. I'm just going to make sure I don't miss anybody here that is from our provincial team. Okay, looks like we're okay. We'd like to warmly welcome from all the way from Niagara, Ontario, Honorary Commissioner Carter. Sir, welcome.
Sir, thank you for having me. I think this is the second or third event I've joined in, so always informative and educational. So I look forward to this evening. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you back, sir. All the way from Hong Kong, we have Brigade Commissioner Dr. Alfred So. Welcome, sir.
Yeah. I'm very glad to join the meeting, first time. So look forward to seeing you. This is the first of the many times. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's great to have you here, especially since it's morning in Hong Kong.
Yes.
We have Lieutenant Colonel Ted Hawthorne, who is joining us. Welcome, sir. Good to see you.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm Ted Hawthorne, the former honorary colonel of the British Columbia Regiment, Duke of Connaught's Own. I'm also presently the vice president of our Veterans Association. So I'm honored to be here this evening, and I look forward to your program. Thank you very much for thinking of us.
Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne. It's great to have you here as always.
Thank you.
I believe Mr. Edmund Wu from the Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association is also with us.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Edmund from originally Hong Kong, and tonight I'm representing the Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association, which was formed in 1995 in Canada by the sons and daughters of Canadian soldiers from the Royal Rifles of Canada and the Winnipeg Grenadiers, who were deployed to Hong Kong during World War II to help defend the then territory. They are therefore called the Hong Kong Veterans. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Likewise.
Okay, next we have, I see Mr. Wesley Lowe, Chaplain Lowe. How are you from the Chinese Canadian Military Museum? You want to say a quick hello?
Hi there. Yes, hello everybody. And sorry, I just came from work, so I'm not properly dressed. So that's why I haven't shared my video, but thanks. I'm looking forward to the presentation.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lowe. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Next we have, okay, the Chak family is here, I see. I see ladies first. Let's go with Colleen.
Hello, my name is Colleen Au. I'm the daughter of Dr. Potin Chak, and it's an honor for me to join you guys in this event. And thanks for remembering all the soldiers who fought in the Battle of Hong Kong. And it's nice to hear this special event, see what other people had to say about the handkerchief, all the signatures, who the people will be involved in this one. Looking forward to all the event. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, Colleen. It's great to see you again. And I see your brother Danny is here as well. And Danny, if you want to say a few words.
Very good night. Good evening, everybody. My name is Danny Chak. I'm the son of Dr. Potin Chak, and my wife Winnie Chak behind me. And yeah, it's our honor to be invited to this special occasion for the 275th anniversary for the Battle of Hong Kong. It's a special deal for my dad for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny and Winnie. It's great to see you both again. Oh, I see Stephanie Carver's here. Stephanie, you want to say a few words?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Carver. I am one of the grandchildren of Dr. Potin Chak, and I'm here in Penticton, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. It's great to see you again. Are there any other veteran families that are with us?
Rich, maybe I can say.
Oh, Adam, is that you?
It is, yeah.
Hey, welcome, Adam.
Thanks. What wonderful event, Rich. For everyone, I'm the grandson of Captain June F. Gibson. She served St. John Ambulance in World War II in Alberta. And she's in a nursing home. She's 102 years old. And I'll be sharing this recording with her on the weekend. Thanks for inviting me, Rich.
It's great to have you here, Adam. I also want to introduce from Pacific Canada Heritage Center, Wendy Yip and Carol Liao are both here with us. I'm not sure if anyone else is from PCHC is present. Oh, I see Stephanie's little daughter there too as well. Welcome. Great. That's a great granddaughter, right? There we go. Wonderful. Okay, next we have our two presenters, Dr. Chiman Fong. If you want to say a few words to say hello, and introduce, we'll have Miss Rachael Dell, who's hailing from Quebec.
Hello, I'm the curator of the Bachelor Military Museum, and I am honored to be here and delighted to participate and share the wonderful stories that this artifact has. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dell. It's great to have you here with us this evening. Okay, so we welcome everyone who's joining us from near and far. It's wonderful to see so many folks taking the time out of their morning if you're in Hong Kong, or late evening if you're in Eastern Canada, or in here in Western Canada. It's great to see so many folks here this evening. As in tradition that we have, it's a long-standing tradition, as you all know. Before we start things off, we'd like to use this opportunity to take a virtual photo. So if you want to turn on your cameras to be part of this, I'll do a couple of screen captures. And we're impressed with everybody's patience, because we haven't done this for a whole year now. Look at the camera. I'll take a couple of shots, and just please be patient because we have a few screens to go through. Okay. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. And no problem, we are live on YouTube as well. So there are folks who are watching from afar on YouTube as well. So let's begin the official program. Mr. Tsang, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Tsang, Divisional Superintendent of Adult Division 304, based in Burnaby, BC. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on this very special event. Before we begin, I invite the members to keep their headdress on, except during the opening and closing prayer, and remain seated. Please keep your mic muted, especially when our special guest is speaking. And if you have any question, please raise your digital hands. Thank you. And I would like to now invite our Honorary Brigade Division President, Mr. Richard Liu, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Tsang. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the comfort of your living room or office. Those watching on YouTube, we still need to reach 100 subscribers, so please click on that subscribe button down here now, and hit that bell to be notified when we post new videos. If you're new to this channel, we can always navigate our uploaded videos easily with the timestamped chapters in the video description below. If you haven't seen our previous events, you can find them on our growing YouTube channel, so thank you. Now, before we begin, I would like to acknowledge and recognize that our division is proudly based here in this diversity of Burnaby, which is located on the ancestral and unceded homelands of the Coast Salish, particularly the Hokaminam and Squamish-speaking peoples. We're grateful for the opportunity to present this special service on the shared territory tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Liu, for the land acknowledgement. Good evening, everyone. My name is Raymond Chow, and I'm the Divisional Superintendent of St. John Ambulance, Cadet Division 389. We are based in Burnaby, which is located right next door to Vancouver. We will begin this evening with an opening prayer by our St. John Ambulance BC Yukon Provincial Chaplain, Mr. Nahum Yip, followed by messages from across Canada and Hong Kong. When Chaplain Yip begins his prayer, males, please remove your headdress and everyone bow your heads. You may replace your headdress after the prayer. Chaplain Yip, sir.
Let's pray. God, we want to thank you as we sit down together and reflect and learn from the Battle of Hong Kong. And as we think about the bravery men and women have performed, being loyal to their duties, may we learn from them, continue to reflect on it, so that we can be a better being, human being. And I pray that we will, as a result, as we commemorate this Battle of Hong Kong, we will also learn to extend our hand of help when we are called upon to help. May we continue to serve, not to be served. Thank you, God. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Ip. Now we will have special messages from our very own St. John Ambulance Chancellor, Dr. André Levesque, St. John Ambulance BC Yukon CEO, Mr. Speer, and the Honourable Mr. Lawrence MacAulay, Minister of Veterans Affairs Canada, who will make the opening remarks, followed by welcome remarks by Ms. Emily Moe, the Director of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Toronto, and Ms. Rachael Bedlington, the Consul General of Canada in Hong Kong and Macau, with a special message from the Member of Parliament, Mr. Terry Beech.
Good evening, fellow members of St. John Ambulance and distinguished guests. As Chancellor of the Priory of Canada, I'm sending my warmest season's greetings from Ottawa. It is so good to see our St. John Ambulance volunteers again since my recent trip to British Columbia in September. Your exemplary dedication and example on parade is a guiding light for St. John Ambulance as we gradually move forward from a global pandemic to an even more aware and caring community. St. John Ambulance has 200,000 volunteers globally in over 40 countries with 20,000 strong in Canada. We're reminded that St. John Ambulance has a long history of caring around the world for those in need since the early days, especially within the last 80 years. I've been truly honored and humbled to have had the opportunity to meet members of the greatest generation, such as the most recently Ms. Peggy Lee, a Second World War veteran who served in the British Columbia Brigade at age 19 during a challenging time in Canada for the country, but also for Chinese Canadians like Peggy, who were sadly not recognized as Canadian citizens at the time, but still served Canada with distinction and honor, either on the home front or on the front lines. We also remember Dr. Po Tin Chak, who served with the Hong Kong Brigade at age 19 during the Second World War and saw action on the front lines while saving lives at the Battle of Hong Kong. Despite being captured and interned as a POW, the young Chak managed to have his handkerchief signed by many of those in the POW camp when he was released 80 years ago and preserved it. It is now part of a collection in the Baie de Chaleur Military Museum in Quebec, and I look forward to visiting the museum to view this artifact in the very near future. Although I never had the privilege of meeting Dr. Chak in person, I know that our dedicated members in British Columbia honored and recognized his service on behalf of all our volunteers across Canada while the good doctor was with us until last year. And our members continue to pay respects to his memory, like tonight with his virtual service and presentation. As a historian and member of the St. John Ambulance family, I'm very excited to hear about the stories that will be unveiled of those 100 signatures tonight. Enjoy this evening's service and presentation. Stay safe during this holiday season, and please continue to honor all those who served before us, together in service.
Good evening, everyone. As the CEO of St. John Ambulance BC Yukon, it's my pleasure to greet you on this special December evening. While our nights are darker and colder now, I know that our gathering together, even virtually, is a great way to warm our hearts as we shed new light on the legacy of Dr. Po Tin Chak. Understanding and documenting history is one reason autographs are preserved. A second is a desire to touch, to connect to the lives of important figures from the past, such as Dr. Po Tin Chak. As we celebrate his life this evening, you'll be given unique access to his powerful story and its impact on our present-day world. Thank you to those of you who have worked hard to arrange this evening's event. We look forward to the presentations. Enjoy the evening and happy holidays.
Hi, I'm Lawrence MacAulay, the Minister of Veterans Affairs. I want to thank all of you at St. John Ambulance Burnaby Chapter for once again commemorating Canada's contribution during the defense of Hong Kong. For many hard days and nights in December 1941, the Royal Rifles of Canada and the Winnipeg Grenadiers fought bravely alongside of all other Allied troops defending Hong Kong from Japanese invasion. But after being outmanned and outgunned for more than 17 days, the Allies had no choice but to finally lay down their weapons and surrender. Many of these troops then spent more than 3.5 years as prisoners of war in harsh Japanese camps. Among them, Dr. Po Tin Chak, a member of the St. John Ambulance Brigade of the Hong Kong at the time of his capture on Christmas Day 1941, and a Burnaby resident when he passed away last year. Dr. Chak and all the others who did so much to defend peace and freedom in Asia and the Pacific during the Second World War, we express our profound gratitude for their service and sacrifice. May the memory of all those who served and died while defending Hong Kong, or later as prisoners of war, stay with us forever, lest we forget.
Hello everyone, bonsoir, dai ga ho. The 8th of December marks the start of the Battle of Hong Kong. The Battle of Hong Kong is not only a part of Hong Kong's history, but is also very much a part of Canada's history. Canadian troops experienced our country's first battle in World War II here on December 8, 1941. The defense of Hong Kong ended with very serious Canadian casualties. Of the 1,975 young Canadian troops who came, 554 died. And St. John Ambulance lost 56 of its members. Here in Hong Kong, we just held our annual Canadian commemorative ceremony on December 4th at the Commonwealth War Graves Commission Saiwan War Cemetery. This event has been organized every year since 1947 to remember those 1,975 Canadian soldiers who joined Allied and local forces in fighting courageously against overwhelming odds for 17.5 days in December 1941. Through remembrance, Canada reaffirms its commitment to peace and security on the global stage. Preserving historical items, such as a handkerchief with the signatures of 100 prisoners of war, donated by World War II St. John Ambulance veteran Dr. Chak Po Tin to the Beech Military Museum collection in Quebec, is an important way to remember and honor this history. It is our hope that more Canadians and more people around the world will get to learn more about the history of the Battle of Hong Kong when they see the museum collection. Canada remembers, Hong Kong remembers. Nous nous souviendrons d'eux. We will always remember.
President Liu, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hong Kong and Canada, including British Columbia, have established strong ties over the years. This includes the Battle of Hong Kong, where the Canadians helped defend the city 81 years ago. This includes the late Dr. Po Tin Chak, who had a handkerchief signed by other 99 comrades where they were released from the prison in September 1942. We look forward to more sharing from the guest speaker, Dr. Kwong, on the stories of these brave fighters, and we'll continue to pay tribute to them. Thank you. 劉會長、各位嘉賓，大家好。香港同加拿大，包括卑詩省在內，多年喺各方面建立咗緊密嘅聯繫，當中包括81年前第二次世界大戰嘅香港保衛戰。加拿大出兵協助守護香港，包括當年參與保衛戰嘅翟寶田醫生。翟醫生喺1942年9月從戰俘集中營獲釋， 同其他99位喺拘留期間結識嘅營友喺手帕上面簽名留念。我哋期待稍後鄺志文博士同我哋分享更多英勇戰士嘅事蹟，而且會永遠懷念佢哋。多謝各位。
Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Beech. I'm the Member of Parliament for Burnaby North-Seymour and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance. As we commemorate the 81st anniversary of the Battle of Hong Kong, we are delighted to mark Dr. Po Tin Chok's release from the Sham Shui Po POW camp 80 years ago with this Platinum Jubilee Award presentation to Dr. Chok's family. Dr. Chok served with distinction, saved lives, and survived the Battle of Hong Kong and the horrors of the St. Stephen's College massacre on Christmas Day. After World War II, Dr. Chok was appointed serving brother of the Order of St. John during an investiture at Government House in Hong Kong on January 20th, 1949. His work made Canada safer and healthier. It is an honor to recognize his contributions to our community. We sadly lost Dr. Chok last year, but we will never forget him and his service to our nation. Also, 80 years ago, Peggy Lee, a St. John's Ambulance World War II veteran, was just 19 years old in 1942. It is incredible to think that you were the youngest member of a platoon comprised of 20 Chinese Canadian women and the only Chinese platoon in North America during the Second World War. Your work providing in-home nursing, ambulance driving, and first aid was a significant part of a collective effort to protect freedom and human rights around the world. Those are freedoms we still enjoy today. You also helped create dozens of jobs as a business leader while caring for your family and community. These are all fantastic achievements, and I am thrilled to be able to recognize them and to wish you a happy 99th birthday. Although I can't be there to celebrate with you in person, it is a pleasure to connect with you, and I want to thank you for everything that you have done for Canada. Your achievements have not just had a local impact, but a national one as well, which is why I am pleased to share greetings from the Prime Minister on this special occasion. In this letter, the Prime Minister says, "Dear Ms. Lee, Sophie and I recently learned that you marked your 99th birthday on October 20th. Please accept our belated wishes for this tremendous milestone. What an extraordinary life. In this day and age, with so many great challenges facing us all, we would be well advised to heed the lessons from your journey. We hope that you were able to celebrate with loved ones, and had a chance to reflect upon and appreciate all that you have built and accomplished over the years. We would also like to take this opportunity to thank you for your service with St. John Ambulance and the Women's Ambulance Corps. Veterans such as yourself risked everything during World War II to defend our beloved nation and our way of life. And for that, we all owe you a debt of gratitude. With the warmest wishes of health and happiness, Justin Trudeau." Happy birthday, Peggy. Before I go, I want to wish a joyous and safe holiday season to Peggy Lee and Dr. Chok's families, family members of our Canadian veterans from the Battle of Hong Kong, and the distinguished members of St. John's Ambulance joining us here in Burnaby, across Canada, and in Hong Kong. Because of your dedication, your service, we continue to live in the greatest place in the world. Happy holidays.
Well, indeed, a very happy 99th birthday to Peggy Lee. Thank you for all those amazing messages and remarks to start off this 81st anniversary commemoration. Mr. Chow, let's begin.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. On December 8, 1941, the Japanese Imperial Army simultaneously invaded Hong Kong and attacked Pearl Harbor. The Allied forces, Canada, UK, Singapore, India, and Hong Kong, were outmanned and outgunned 4-1, but fought hard for 2 weeks to protect Hong Kong. This engagement would come to be known as the Battle of Hong Kong.
1941年12月8號，日本皇軍同一時間攻擊香港和珍珠港。為了保護當時嘅香港，盟軍包括加拿大、英國、新加坡、印度同香港，以平均人力同火力4-1之弱勢咧，奮戰咗2個星期。而呢一場戰鬥亦都稱為香港之戰。
Hours before the governor of Hong Kong, Mark Atkinson Young, surrendered to the Japanese army, the invading Japanese stormed St. Stephen's College. It was converted into a field hospital at the time, and the Japanese soldiers murdered all the wounded military personnel, the civilians, and the defenseless medical staff, many of whom were St. John Ambulance volunteers.
1941年12月25號，香港總督楊慕琦向日軍投降前嘅幾個小時，日軍攻擊聖士提反書院嘅野戰醫院，殺死所有手無寸鐵嘅醫護人員，其中大部分係聖約翰救傷隊嘅志願隊員、受傷嘅軍人同埋平民。
The Battle of Hong Kong was Canada's first land engagement in the Pacific Theatre during the Second World War 81 years ago. As a result, 290 Canadian soldiers were killed in action and another 264 would perish in POW camps in Hong Kong and Japan. St. John Ambulance lost 56 brothers and sisters between 1941 and 1945, most of whom were killed during the 2-week battle.
81年前，香港之戰係加拿大第2次世界大戰期間喺太平洋戰區嘅第1次戰鬥，結果290名加拿大官兵喺行動中陣亡，另外264人喺香港嘅日本戰俘營裏面喪生。聖約翰救傷隊喺1941年至到1945年間失去咗56名兄弟姊妹，大部分係喺為期2週嘅香港之戰中陣亡。
Squad leader Shanice Yu will now read Dr. John McCrae's poem, In Flanders Fields.
In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
Now Mr. Lowe will make the act of remembrance.
Good evening. I'm going to read the act of remembrance. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Squad Leader Adam Chen will now read the commitment to remember.
They were young as we are young. They served, giving freely of themselves. To them we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
We will remember them.
The commemoration for the Battle of Hong Kong has now concluded. Thank you for joining us in your respective time zones to remember all those who served, but also those who saved lives and for making our future a better one. On that note, we will switch gears now to a special presentation from Hong Kong and Quebec. As many of you know, our dear St. John Ambulance World War II veteran, the late Dr. Po Tin Chak, became a POW with 9 members of his team at the Sham Shui Po POW camp in December of 1941, but was released less than a year later as a non-combatant. The liberation took place 80 years ago in September of 1942. But for over 7 decades, Dr. Chak kept a special handkerchief with 100 signatures of those who were with him at that camp. This historic artifact was finally displayed for public viewing in Vancouver, BC, at the Chinese Canadian Military Museum's Battle of Hong Kong exhibit back in 2016 to commemorate the 75th anniversary of a historic battle. But other than Dr. Chak, little was known about the other 99 individuals. The handkerchief is now in the Bedlington Military Museum collection in Quebec. We are truly delighted and honored to have a special presentation on the research done and unveil some of what the 99 untold stories tonight by Dr. Chim-Man Kwong and Rachael Dell. Ms. Dell is the curator of the Bedlington Military Museum. As a postgraduate in museum curatorship from Sir Sanford Fleming College with a Master's of Art degree in anthropology from Trent University. Rachael has worked for a variety of organizations, including the Social Archaeology Research Project in Belize, the Center for Heritage Development in Kenya, the Bedlington Military Museum in Quebec, and as curator for the Northern Life Museum and Cultural Center based in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. Returning to her childhood home during the pandemic, Rachael picked up a seasonal contract with the Bedlington Military Museum this past summer and reorganized and inventoried the museum's collection, bringing the storage room up to professional standards. Rachael's work and research has been recognized with 3 awards during her career at the provincial, territorial, and national level. Ms. Dell, welcome, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Richard. So the Bedlington Military Museum is located on the Gaspé Peninsula in eastern Quebec. Our small museum was founded by Philip Doddridge, who served in the Royal Rifles in Hong Kong during the Second World War. The museum has a rich and fascinating collection of artifacts and stories. Our museum has a dual focus. Firstly, we explore the Gaspésian military history from its earliest times to the present. And our other principal mission is to tell the story of Canadian soldiers who served in Hong Kong and preserve and share the history of the Hong Kong story. A couple of years ago, Dr. Chak, with the help and encouragement of his dear friend Edmund Wu, an active member of the Hong Kong Veterans Commemorative Association, decided to donate a handkerchief to the Bedlington Military Museum. This handkerchief is extremely unique and an important artifact. It contains the signatures of 100 different men who were interred at Sham Shui Po camp after the surrender of Hong Kong and signed at the time of their release in 1942. Most of the men who signed the handkerchief served in the Volunteer Defense Corps or in the field ambulance, as Dr. Chak had. The handkerchief was protected and preserved for decades by Dr. Chak, and it is now a treasured artifact in our museum's collection. This summer, Dr. Chak's handkerchief was cataloged into the collection and carefully stored in our collection reserve room. We are hoping to update our permanent exhibition in the next couple of years, and I believe that this special artifact will be put on public display at that time. During the summer, I posted an Artifact of the Week and Veteran of the Week stories and photos on our museum's Facebook page, and Dr. Chak's handkerchief was one of the featured artifacts. This post, along with an earlier Veteran of the Week post featuring Dempsey Sievert, also a Hong Kong veteran, provoked a completely unexpected and amazing international response that I never could have anticipated. Dozens of messages from Hong Kong residents were left on the museum's page in response to these posts, and people living in Hong Kong were giving this spontaneous outpouring of thanks and gratitude to Canadian veterans who had served in the defense of the island. Shortly after Dr. Chak's handkerchief was featured, Debbie Lee Jian, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, contacted the museum and helped connect us with Dr. Kwan and his amazing research project. Dr. Kwan requested a series of close-up photographs of the signatures, volunteering to help transcribe them and identify the men who had signed their names. This unlikely partnership has resulted in a wealth of research being shared, and thanks to Dr. Kwan and his research team, our museum now understands the full significance of this special artifact, and we have learned and recorded many of the biographical stories of the different men who signed the handkerchief. My museum owes a huge debt to Dr. Kwan and his research team, Justin Ching Ho being a noteworthy member. We also owe a heartfelt thanks to the Chak family, especially Dr. Chak's daughter, Colleen, who has shared so many wonderful stories and photographs of her family and her father. When the Bayshore Military Museum puts Dr. Chak's handkerchief on display in the near future, we are well positioned to create a rich, detailed, and nuanced exhibit sharing the stories of Dr. Chak and so many Hong Kong residents who served in the Hong Kong Volunteer Defense Corps, in the St. John Ambulance and the Field Ambulance. May they never be forgotten. Thank you so much, Richard, for allowing me to participate in this virtual webinar. I'm delighted to turn things over to Dr. Kwan, who has dedicated himself and his project so completely to researching and uncovering the stories behind Dr. Chak's handkerchief. But first, it's my pleasure to introduce him. Dr. Kwan was born and raised in Hong Kong and completed his doctorate degree in Cambridge in the United Kingdom. Dr. Kwan's interests lie in the military history of East Asia. He is an author of a number of books, including The Hong Kongers in the British Armed Forces, 1860 to 1997, War and Geopolitics in the Interwar Manchuria, Eastern Fortress, A Military History of Hong Kong, 1840 to 1970. His works can be found in Modern Asian Studies, the Journal of Military History, the Journal of Chinese Military History, and War and Society. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Kwan. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachael, for the introduction, and thank you very much, Richard, for inviting me to this very meaningful event. I'm sure you can hear me, right? So now I'm going to share the screen of my PowerPoint with you. So first of all, it's really a very amazing project without Rachael and Debbie's help, as she sort of alerted me in the summer about the existence of this handkerchief. And the first time when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, because the story, we heard about the story of the Asian prisoners of war in the Sham Shui Po camp from oral histories and other sources, and the prisoners of war identity cards, etc. So we have some sources, but we have never actually have seen personal items such as a handkerchief with so many names signed on it. So it's a really shocking find, and a real testimony of the fact that even though after so many years of research and so on, you can still find something new almost like every day when you work on any topic about the past. So I'm going to have a very short, like 15 minutes presentation on Dr. Chak's handkerchief. And a few words on the Asian prisoners of war experience in the Sham Shui Po camp, and of course during the Battle of Hong Kong. So as many of you have known, Hong Kong was of course invaded by the Japanese forces in December 1941, and the story was being told for so many times, I'm sure you all are familiar with. But one particular feature of the story is somehow less well known, which was the heavy Chinese and Eurasian, and basically Asian participation in the battle. Of course, you have lots of Indian soldiers in the garrison as well. But if you look closely at the composition of the garrison, actually there were around 2,000 indigenous servicemen joined in the garrison. And basically, many of them were locally born or raised, or many of them were overseas Chinese who went to Hong Kong some before the war, or some of them were Eurasians from mixed heritage. So they all participated in the Battle of Hong Kong in many different capacities. So this following chart is basically a statistics on the total number of the locals who served in the garrison in December 1941. In total, there were around 2,000 of them from a highly diverse ethnic and cultural background. So many of them could be collectively known as Chinese, but they share very different heritage. Some of them are overseas Chinese, some of them are from the southern part of the country, some of them were from the northern part of the country, some of them were Eurasians. So we sort of divided them into categories by what they do in the battle. For example, we had around 500 of them serving as infantrymen, so basically foot soldiers. They were distributed in a regular unit, the Hong Kong Chinese Regiment, and 4, 5 other companies. For example, the number 3, number 4, the 5, 6, and 7 companies of the Hong Kong Volunteers Defence Corps, which was a local militia unit, a territorial army outfit. And another around 300 of them served as gunners of the Royal Artillery of the British Army. So they were distributed in all the coastal gun batteries or anti-aircraft gun batteries. And there were also engineers. Most of them were regulars, or regular sappers of the Royal Engineers, who some of them were enlisted long before the war, decades before the war. The earliest entrants we found joined the British Army in the 1920s or even earlier, some of them. And of course, Hong Kong has also served in the naval and air forces, not as pilots, etc., but as ground crews or as seamen, etc. And they were in the Volunteer Air Force, Hong Kong Royal Navy Volunteer Reserve, and of course the Royal Air Force ground crew as well. So there were another 600 of them. So this picture was taken in August 1941. When the Hong Kong Chinese sappers of the Royal Engineers celebrating their 50th anniversary of the existence of their unit in the British Army. So as you can see, they were fully trained as combat troops, and they were equipped, basically modernly equipped, and they were basically trained just like the same as other British forces and the Commonwealth forces. And this was a particularly rare photograph because this was taken a few months before the war. And you can see they were very healthy body of people. Some of them were slightly older than others because, as I said, some of them enlisted decades before 1941. And these were the Hong Kong Chinese gunners. They too served in the British forces when the Japanese attacked. They served in the anti-aircraft batteries, anti-aircraft gun batteries, coastal gun batteries, etc. And there were around 300 of them before the war. And these were the local volunteers. They came from a very different background compared to the regulars of the gunners and the sappers we have just seen. These were part-time soldiers. They were recruited as local militia, a territorial army rather than as a regular army. That means they were not full-time soldiers, professional soldiers, but they were trained when they have the free time, usually several weeks in a year, etc. And then they would be mobilized in emergencies, and of course they too participated in the Battle of Hong Kong. when the war broke out, the Hong Kong Volunteer Defence Corps consists of around 600 personnel. Many of them were local Chinese, or Eurasians, or Portuguese. These men, as you can see in this picture, came from the number 3 company of the HKBDC. And this particular picture was also very rare because it was taken in November 1941, just 1 month before the outbreak of the war. And this shows a group of Hong Kong Chinese sappers being trained in Fanling, Gunlongwai, a small fortified village near the Guandei barracks. So as you can see, they were sort of modernly equipped and fully ready for war. There were some people who suggested that after the war, or even during the war, that the British government didn't really trust the locals and did not try to enlist their support, or even enlist them to join in the garrison to fight against the Japanese invasion. But on the other hand, from this particular Japanese propaganda leaflet, you can see, in fact, the Japanese were well aware of the existence of these local volunteers or the local regulars in the British forces, and they did try to really play against the racial or ethnic tensions among these people in order to turn these people against the British. As you can see from this leaflet, it says the British basically used the dead bodies of the local Chinese soldiers as parapets to cover himself, and he said, "Yeah, 我是前赴後繼." That means, yeah, we will advance after you were killed. So basically, it was that. So, but of course, as we can see during the Battle of Hong Kong, we still cannot find any cases of the locals turning against their British colleagues during the battle when the Japanese invaded Hong Kong. We still could not find any evidence of this, and not even in the Japanese records. But anyway, after 17.5 days of fighting, Hong Kong capitulated and the garrison was sent into the prisoners of war camp. And the Asian prisoners of war, when the British surrendered, not all of the Asians servicemen joined their British or Canadian colleagues to the POW camps, because many of the British and British officers, especially, they released the Asian soldiers because they believed that if they were being caught by the Japanese, they would be immediately executed. That was actually the case for many of the St. John ambulance personnel when they were being captured in different parts of Hong Kong Island during the battle, especially in Wong Lai Chung Gap. So when you have St. John and St. Stephen's College, when you have Chinese who were dressed in uniform that looks like a British serviceman, in many cases, Japanese soldiers would kill them immediately without asking questions. So that is why many of the Asian servicemen of the garrison were actually released right at the time when the British surrendered. However, there are still more than 100 of Asian servicemen joined their British and Canadian colleagues to the prisoners of war camp, and they were sent to the Sham Shui Po camp here. And in this 3D map, we can see the exact location of the Sham Shui Po camp, which is basically in the middle of the screen. And as you can see, it was actually very close to the mountains at behind. And of course, the built-up area next to it, which is nowadays also called Sham Shui Po. So at the very early days of their internment, many of them actually escaped. Many of the Asian prisoners of war just simply walked away from the camp and merged into the crowd and not to be found by the Japanese. But many decided to stay as well, including Dr. Chak and of course, those who signed it on the handkerchief later on. So here is the testimony of one of the prisoners of war, Dr. Raymond Mock, who later also served in the British Army Aid Group and who worked as a doctor in Hong Kong long after the war. So when he was being sent to the Sham Shui Po camp as a prisoner of war, he remembered that He crossed the harbor and then marched along the Nathan Road to Shamshui camp. The whole street were full of people. In fact, we were abused by the people more than by the Japanese guards. All along the road, the Japanese kept quiet, and the population jeered at us. I saw my brother in the street. We just looked at each other, and we didn't even bother, didn't even care to wave at each other. And he also noted that the camp's condition was very bad. He noted that there was only a few empty huts, no floorboard, no window, nothing at all. And we were given one hut completely empty and have around 30 to 40 Chinese together. And then we have to make use of whatever we can to more or less have a good sleep. Of course, the biggest problem would be food. So according to Dr. Mok, he said, he didn't really think anybody could get enough food at the beginning. We just mainly get some rotten rice and sometimes just a spoon of sugar. Sometimes we get a spring onion, a little bit of vegetables. Eventually, the cookhouse is well organized with the help of course, because of the prisoners of war themselves, not with the help of the Japanese. So we have some very good cook in the volunteers. They look after the cookhouse, and I remember I was in charge of the party to bring the food in from the truck sent by the Japanese. And then one day they were sending a lot of meat. So we were so happy to see chunks of meat and whatnot, thinking it might be a big fish. Then we realized it was stinking meat from the dairy farm because of the lack of electricity. The cold storage came down, so we all got these rotten meat. So they were being fed with very bad food. They had very little provision of medicine. The Japanese camp guards were not really helping because of the lack of resources in Hong Kong in general. So all these Asian prisoners of war, just like the Canadian and British counterparts, they stayed in the Shamshui camp in a very bad condition for around a year. But for the Asians prisoners of war, they were perhaps more lucky, so to speak, because in September 1942, they were released, mainly because they were being vouched by two notable members of the society, Sir Robert Cookwaugh and Auburn Hall. They vouched for to the Japanese and basically made promise that these people would not go back to the Allies to fight again. And then these people were released. So they were released in two batches. In September, around 100 were released, and then later on, another group was released. This picture was probably the one being taken in September 1942. 17th of September to be specific, when these prisoners of war were being released, including probably Dr. Chak was among this group. So they were, so to speak, released, but in fact, they were not, many of them were actually put under house arrest and they were being forced to work for the Japanese. We will come back to that story later. So let's look at the handkerchief. As I said, I was really shocked to see the handkerchief because I can almost immediately recognize many of these names because when we are trying to research on the Battle of Hong Kong, we created a database of all the local servicemen who participated in the battle. We have around 2,000 names, and when I see this handkerchief, my initial reaction would be, let's just try all the names on the handkerchief and compare it with our database. And of course, with the help of Justin, who very, very diligently read and reread, just like Rachael and me. So I forgot how many times we have read this handkerchief, try to locate all these 100 names on the handkerchief. And we have some, but I'm very sad to report that I still haven't been able to locate all 99 or 100 names. So far, we can confirm we found 98 names. And most intriguingly, the only name that escaped us is Dr. Chak's name. So it must be inside this, it must be on it, but I just could not find it. But anyway, so far we confirmed that there were 98 names, probably also with Dr. Chak's name. That makes it 99. And we have a breakdown of all the names and the units on the handkerchiefs. So we have, as Rachael noted, most of them came from the Hong Kong Volunteer Defence Corps, the local militia unit. And many of them came from field ambulance of the HKVDC. And we have men from all the units, all the combat units, including the batteries and of course the infantry companies. And it should be noted that you don't really have any Portuguese in this handkerchief because there was no release of Portuguese prisoners of war during the war. And then you have a few regulars. You have 8 regulars. 3 of them came from Royal Artillery. 1 of them came from the Hong Kong Chinese Regiment. That was an infantry unit. And you have 4 Royal Navy personnel. And then you have 4 St. John ambulance members and 2 Japanese staffs. So usually it was noted that the handkerchief consists of only names of the prisoners of war. But in fact, in the middle, there were 2 Japanese names. One of them was definitely a Japanese camp guard, and which we can find his name in other documents. So the grand total should be 98 plus 1, which was Dr. Chak's name. And let us go turn to some of the notable names on the handkerchief. For example, we have Dr. Mock, Raymond Mock, whose oral history can be found in the Imperial War Museum. He left a very detailed account of his experience and his release. And of course, later on, he escaped from Hong Kong and then joined the British Army Age Group as a medical doctor. And then he served in Hong Kong as a doctor for many decades later on. And there is another guy, Mr. Liu Keisang from the Hong Kong Chinese Regiment. He was an overseas Chinese, so he probably came from Malaya or Singapore. And as I said, these men were released because they sort of promised not to rejoin the Allied forces after they were released. But Liu actually returned, left Hong Kong, went into China, reported to the British, and then he was retrained in India and joined the Chindits as as a member of the special forces that fought in Burma in 1944. So he sort of broke his promise to the Japanese and rejoined the fight. He too survived the war and then moved to Singapore afterwards. And we also have a very sad story on this handkerchief because, as I said, when these prisoners of war were released, they were actually placed in house arrest and being forced to work for the Japanese. But many of them actually tried to escape, just like Dr. Mok and Liu Keisang. Many of them succeeded in leaving Hong Kong, but 4 of them, at least 5 of them, were recaptured by the Japanese, and 4 of them were executed by the Japanese when they were found trying to leave Hong Kong. And they were Sim Bek Ho, Liu Hock Yao, Zhang Leitian, and Li Haofeng. And we can also find their signatures there. The story was well known, but we have never actually had the chance to see anything left by these people. Because, for example, Zhang Leitian was actually Justin Ho's grand uncle. So that means it's extremely important to him as well. So these stories, in fact, these 6 stories are just tip of an iceberg because we have 99 names on the handkerchief. But because of the time limit, so I will just stop here. And of course, let me show you the 2 Japanese names as the final part of my presentation, which is these 2. You have a Masaichi Yunde Gongshou Zhengxi and another Japanese Shiro Murase Chunlai Silong. And Gongshou Yunde was actually one of the members of the Sam Shui Po camp guards. Okay. Oh, by the way, Justin sent me a message reminding me the fact that one of the names we shared just now was not executed. Sim Bek Ho was actually died. He died in prison rather than being executed. Sorry for that. So basically, that's the end of my presentation. And of course, it's a very preliminary survey of the names. And I'm sure that many stories could be uncovered. And in fact, including that 2 Japanese guards or administrators of the camp. So this is the end of my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Kwong. Good evening or still good morning in Hong Kong. I'm the Divisional Training Officer for Division 3 Night, Garfield. I believe there's a couple questions come from our cadet members. Are you ready? Okay. I would like Sergeant Yip start with the first question.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kwong, for your very interesting presentation. I know I personally learned a lot about history of Hong Kong and also a little bit about my heritage as well. My question is, throughout this entire process of like collecting all the signatures on the handkerchief, like on this really important artifact, what are your personal like takeaways from this entire experience, or what is like one lesson you learned?
Thank you for the question. My first impression is that it's a very important artifact because it reminds us of the diversity of Chinese experience. So we always, as Chinese, ethnic Chinese, sometimes you would assume that we share somehow a similar historical experience or share somehow a similar worldview. In some cases, but this handkerchief actually tells a story of many different people, also most of them ethnic Chinese, one of them maybe Eurasian, but it says a lot about how diverse their experience can be. They were diverse in their cultural background, they're diverse in their dialects, diverse in their names. When you look at the handkerchief, it shows many different spelling of their names as well. This marks their different native languages, collectively perhaps known as Chinese, but you have Qiuzhou people, you have Cantonese, you have those from the north, you have overseas Chinese, and so many spellings tells a lot about the diversity of the Chinese heritage around the world in the 19th century and the 20th century. So that's the most important takeaway from me. Another one would be the importance of highlighting the often forgotten experience when you look at events like a war. In a war, you always have a clear side, the Allies, the Axis, but there were actually so many people being caught in between, just like these Asian prisoners of war. In fact, in many of the British or Canadian accounts about the Battle of Hong Kong, they were almost never mentioned. Sometimes they were mentioned, but only very, very briefly. From a Japanese perspective, in Japanese official history, they were almost never mentioned. They didn't even mention any prisoners of war, in fact. In many cases, only very brief discussion on that. So to highlight these Asian experience, I think it's very important to highlight the fact that these people were sort of trapped in a war that they didn't really want it, they didn't choose it, but they have to react according to the circumstances, and we probably have to be very sympathetic to their choices and, of course, to their sufferings.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Kwong. And I believe Propo Yu has a question too.
So thank you for that informative speech, or the presentation was really impactful for me. I think my question for you is, what did you find like the hardest during the process, and what is something you can be most proud about?
The hardest one is to find Dr. Jack's signature on it. Just it, isn't it? So yes, the hardest part is to really find all the names. So far, and as I said, we still haven't found all of them, and maybe there are one or two surprises waiting for us, because many suggest that there should be 100 names on it. So probably we didn't just miss one, but we missed two. So that's the most difficult part of it. It looked small, it's just a handkerchief. But then there's so many things on it, and they were lumped together, all the words. So that's the hardest part, I think. And the proudest part, no, I'm not particularly proud of it, because it should be the people who keep this handkerchief. They should be very proud of it. Thanks very much for Dr. Chak and his family for keeping this very important relics, and for Rachael and for Debbie for connecting us all the dots, and of course for Justin, who helped a lot in it. So I'm just very lucky to be part of this great effort in recovering this history. And of course, thanks St. John for organizing this and let many people know about this important artifact.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kwan. I just wanted to let you know that we appreciate all your experience on searching for other names. And my dad's name is actually on the handkerchief. It's on the bottom left of your picture. So Rachael will share with you later on.
Thank you.
So you'll have fun, other names there.
Bottom left, I see. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, he's on it in English, so it wasn't in Chinese. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kwan. And also, I believe Corporal Kwan have a question for you too.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kwan, for the presentation. I found it interesting because I think here in school, we always focus on like the Western or European history. And since you're interested in like the East Asian history, I was wondering if there are any other events in the history of East Asia that you think would be very important for us to like know and learn about.
I think thanks for the question, and I think for Asians in North America in general, I think the most important part of the modern history for your experience would be the immigration process. Yeah, the long process of Asians trying to settle in North America, the difficulties they encountered, all the discriminations and suffering at the very for the early settlers, Asian settlers in North America. These should be remembered, of course. And on our side, for example, you can see, for example, Hong Kong history is actually a very interesting and of course important part because you have a place where people from very different backgrounds, and not just ethnic background, but also culture, language, and etc. Religion. They try to settle together in a very small place, very confined place. You guys live in Canada, probably you don't really have an experience in living in confined space, but we in Hong Kong probably have a better experience in that because we don't have much space for everyone. So, but in Hong Kong you have a strange process of people from so different background trying to I'm not saying tolerate, but trying to live together in a productive way. And the whole modern history of Hong Kong, in this sense, it's actually quite educational, I think, for people who have to see people from, always meet people from many different backgrounds and try not to be too judgmental to differences and try to accept differences. And I'm sure the historical experience of Hong Kong and of course Asians in North America can tell a lot about that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kwan. As usual, we always leave the most challenged questions at the end. So I'd like you to just take a deep breath and then get ready for it.
Okay.
So far, all our guesses take this challenge good. I hope you so. Okay, now I'd like our junior member, Tiana Wang, ask you this most important and challenging questions. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Junior Cadet Wong. What is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, vanilla for me. Vanilla for me. Yes, definitely vanilla for me. But on the other hand, as I said, this whole presentation is about tolerance of differences. So basically, I eat everything that people give me. So thank you very much for the question. What a relief. Vanilla.
Excellent choice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Junior Wong, and thank you, Ms. Wong. A big thank you again to Dr. Kwong and Ms. Dell for this special presentation, and to Justin Ho for his extremely hard work. As we're celebrating 100 years of the cadet program worldwide this year. And thank you, Commissioner So and the Hong Kong Brigade Office for their support and presence from Hong Kong. Thank you for everyone for joining this evening. A big thank you to the team at PHQ for the support for tonight, but also during this entire year. Let's give everyone here a big thumbs up. And I have to say that after over 2 years of being behind the screen, it's finally great to be back in person these last few months. We hope to find a way to visit Hong Kong and pay respects to our fellow St. John members and the Canadian soldiers and Allied soldiers buried in Hong Kong. I now invite Deputy Provincial Commissioner Kern to make the closing remarks. Commissioner Kern, sir.
Thank you very much. Not just a presentation tonight, some actual research is going on. Lower left-hand corner. Wow, we're doing scientific across the borders here. This is great. Congratulations to the Burnaby team for hosting this third virtual commemoration for the Battle of Hong Kong this evening. It's important to remember all those that served and all those that have sacrificed. Thank you to all who delivered messages tonight, and mostly a heartfelt thanks to Ms. Dell and Dr. Kwong for their ongoing collaborative work. We are very grateful for the research that is done, and again, even research happening here tonight on Dr. Chak's artifact and learning more about the POW stories of those same 100 names tonight. This is also a perfect way to close out the centennial year for the cadets. We've seen the Burnaby team grow and excellent display of their training and drill after returning in-person meetings this year. And thank you to the Burnaby leadership team for navigating the members throughout this pandemic and supporting us in our pandemic and otherwise operations like the heat dome and that, all those that have been able to help out there. I saw Tony here tonight. And it's truly been a team effort in juggling a lot of activities. And our virtual commemorative comes to a close. I wish all you a happy holidays and look forward to seeing you in the new year. I felt it was somewhat appropriate that the reading of In Flanders Fields, where Lieutenant Colonel Dr. McRae, who worked in a field hospital during the war, other than you know, his important duties, I've been there to Flanders and I've been at his graveyard site and left a poppy there, so it's very poignant and important. I now invite Chaplain Ip to make the closing prayer, and if members can please remove their headdress.
I think it is quite appropriate to make a prayer for peace attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. Please pray with me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we awaken to eternal life. Loving God, lead us from death to life, from falsehood to truth, from despair to hope, from fear to trust, from hate to love, from war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe. In the name of Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Yep. All right, this officially concludes the program for this evening. Thank you all for joining us from near and far. Certainly, indeed, as Commissioner Kern had mentioned, it was very informative, even with some live research being done at the same time. And really appreciate that our veteran families joined us on this Monday evening. We're so honored to have your presence here and to continue our work to remember and to support each other. Good night, everyone. You are free to go back to your normal scheduling in Hong Kong. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to Dr. Kwong and Ms. Dell. I look forward to meeting you in person one of these days soon. Thank you so much again, everyone. And all the guests who are not St. John, you are free to go. Thank you so much and happy holidays. Stay well.
Thank you. See you next time.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, guys.
How about yours? Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry
Christmas. How about the New Year's?
This is the best part.